Okay, so it's. I'm not foundation and larger models. You know, those. Do you like?
And I thought, where again, I think
So.
that's supposed to be just long.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yes.
I would do all. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the feeling was. Yeah. That's great. I'm bored. I just.
Begin to the full meeting agenda for the October 16, 2025 Chicago Plan Commission meeting. I want to quickly provide guidance to those who want to provide testimony on the cases presented for public hearing today. A few of you may have already submitted forms electronically, but for anyone else who may wish to testify before the Plan Commission, please fill out the sheets located on the table where you enter the room. Please include your full name, address, if you are for or against the proposal, and if you are here representing yourself or an organization. Please hand your sheets to one of the staff members. People who have completed forms will be called on after each item is presented. Thank you. Out of respect for other speakers, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please line up at the microphone, or actually at the table because we don't have microphones. To my left, in the order that I call your names, please do not repeat comments that have already been made by previous speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session of the staff or the applicant, but an opportunity for attendees to voice their opinions on a particular proposal. Out of respect for others, please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers. Any individual who disrupts the presentation or any subsequent comment session may be asked to leave the room, or if necessary, may be escorted out by security. We will now call the roll. Commissioner Barclay, not here. Commissioner Boatright, present. Thank you. Commissioner Brumfield, not here. Commissioner Castañeda, not here. Commissioner Dowell, not here. Commissioner Flores, here. Commissioner Johnson, not here. Commissioner Cadaquia,
Here.
thank you. Commissioner La Espada, not here. Commissioner Lyons, here. Thank you. Commissioner Murphy,
Yep, yes.
thank you. Commissioner Piñeiro,
Here.
thank you. Commissioner Ramirez Rosa, not here. Commissioner Reyes, not here. Commissioner Sicho Lopez, not here. Commissioner Esposado, not here. Commissioner Tillman, not here. Commissioner Turner, not here. Commissioner Villegas, not here. I, the Chicago Plan Commission, chairwoman, may need to step away from the meeting today. I would normally be able to turn the gavel over to the vice chair. However, in his absence today, I would like to ask the body to consider Commissioner Boatright to act as a designated replacement when I need to step away. Do the plan commissioners have any questions on this action?
No.
If none, can I get a motion for Commissioner Boatright to chair the meeting in absence of the chairwoman?
So,
Thank you, Commissioner Pineda. Roll call vote. Commissioner Boatright? Yes. Thank you. Commissioner Flores? Yes. Commissioner Cadaquia?
yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Pineda?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. We will now approve the minutes from September 18, 2025 regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. The minutes were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission held on September 18, 2025?
So.
Thank you, Commissioner Boatright. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Boatright, can you confirm? Thank you. Commissioner Flores, yes. Commissioner Cadaquia?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons? Abstain. Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Piñeiro?
Yes.
Thank you. Reminder, we will take the public comments for the items on the agenda after each item has been presented. If you have not already done so and you wish to speak on an item, please complete a testimony slip available at the table. Staff members are available to assist if needed and will collect the forms from you. Now, we will move on to the public hearing presentation portion for matters submitted in accordance with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and or the Chicago zoning ordinance. The first item today is listed as D1, a proposed amendment to residential business plan development 306 submitted by Wintrust Bank for the property generally located at 554 through 628 West Diversey Parkway in 2801 through 2807 North Broadway. The applicant proposes to amend plan development 306 to add financial institutions with walk-up ATM services as an allowed use to plan development 306. The applicant intends to occupy approximately 3,000 square feet of existing tenant space, the full-service banking facility with a walk-up ATM operated by Wintrust Bank. No changes to the bulk or density of the planned development are proposed. This is item 22885, and it's in the 44th ward. Omar will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Omar Smailovic with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant, Wintrust Financial, is here today to request approval of an amendment to Plan Development number 306, which is generally located at the intersection of North Broadway and West Diversity Parkway. The applicant proposes to amend PD 306 to add financial institutions with lockup ATM service as an allowed use. The applicant intends to occupy approximately 3,000 square feet of existing tenant space with a full-service banking facility with a walk-up ATM operated by Wintrust Bank North America. No changes to the bulk or density of the planned development are proposed. The site is located within the Lakeview community area, which has a population of approximately 101,100 people, 56,775 households, with a median household income of $104,139. The site consists of approximately 59,024 square feet and is currently improved with a residential high-rise building with ground floor commercial space along both the Diversity Parkway and Broadway frontages. The site is served by the CTA Brown and Purple L lines via the Diversity Elevated Station, as well as CTA bus routes 36, 76, and 22. Zoning of the adjacent land is mostly comprised of business and commercial districts, as well as a RM5 residential multi-unit district. The site is also located along a pedestrian retail street as designated by the Chicago zoning ordinance. I would like to pass the presentation to the applicant team to go over the details of the proposed technical amendment.
Members of the Plan Commission, members of the staff, my name is Dan Dowd. My business address is 55 West Wacker, 8th floor, Chicago, Illinois. I'm the attorney for Wintrust. On behalf of the applicant that we have here today, to my immediate right is LaShawn Swain. She is head of retail banking operations for Wintrust. To her right is Laura Slifka, who's the vice president, real estate development and real estate department for Wintrust, and Charles Grund, who is to her right, and he's our architect. So we appreciate the opportunity to present to you this morning. As Omar mentioned, this is a development of an existing site for a retail banking operation. I think at this point, the best thing to do would be to turn it over to our architect, Charles Grund, and he will describe to you what the architectural aspects of the project will be. And from there, we'll go to the actual operations, and we're available to go into as much depth as you desire, to be as brief as you'd like, and answer any questions. So thank you.
Thanks again for the opportunity. What you're seeing now is the location at the corner of Broadway and Diversity. The intent for the exterior is to remain the same with the exception of awnings, which will be changed at some point based on the design of Wintrust's awning company. But in terms of the glass and the exposure to the street, everything stays the same. You will see the addition of an ATM in the next slide. So this is the same context. So you can see in the shaded area in the corner of the site, that's where the old Foxtrot restaurant used to be. So the entry is the same. So you enter off the corner of Broadway and Diversity and enter the bank there with glass on both street sides. Okay. Apparently we don't have a larger plan than this. So in terms of the entry, it's a very typical Wintrust layout, which we always call eyes on the street. And we say that because Wintrust demands from us that their personal bankers and the tellers specifically can see from their locations out through the glass to the street. And most importantly, that the patrons can see into the bank from the street. both personal bankers and the tellers. So that's how this plan is arranged. We decided to keep the existing toilet rooms that are there, work around those. Everything else will be demolished and we will start fresh. There's an open ceiling in the front of the space now. And we are working with Wintrust to retain that open ceiling look and just have hard ceilings in the offices and in the conference area. It's hard to tell here, but the conference room is in the right-hand corner of the plan, and next to that is what we call the ATM room. So that ATM, it will be accessed from the sidewalk along Diversey, which is the deeper sidewalk of the two. We chose that location again because it's much more visible. And there's a bus stop on the Broadway side, and there's less opportunity to get the ATM there. So in a nutshell, that's the plan.
Would you like to ask any questions to the architect or defer those if you have any to the end of our presentation?
Well, do you want to talk about
Yeah,
the
you
elevation?
can talk about the elevation. So here's the specific elevations. You can see at the upper elevation is the corner entry, which we haven't changed. Again, new awnings, which are yet to be designed. That corner entry is on the left side of the bottom slide here, the elevations. All the windows and glass you see are the same, with the exception of the one where the ATM is. We intend to keep the storefront as is and just put solid panels there with an ATM in that location, which we've done successfully in other locations in the city. This is the Broadway elevation. So you can see the corner entry and the 5 panes of glass adjacent to the entry. And then the double doors are an adjacent suite that is, as far as we know, not yet rented. And again, here's the overall plan, which we talked about earlier. Corner entry, again, we will remove this awning and then put a new awning and new signage, which will be compliant with the city rules. I can talk to this. So the construction cost was about $1 million for the interior build out, which is, and the total project cost is $1.3 million, which includes furnishings, furnishings, etc.
Then Chuck, address the other issues.
Yes.
Again, for the record, Omar Smailovic from DPD. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the project materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposed additional use would be appropriate for the following reasons. The development will continue to be in compliance with the plan development standards and guidelines. The proposed addition of bank with lockup ATM services is compatible with the plan development's preceding commercial zoning designation and would be compatible with the character of the surrounding area. Public infrastructure facilities and city services will be adequate to serve the proposed development. Please refer to the staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of zoning administrator that this application to amend plan development number 306 be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Do the commissioners have any questions of Omar or the applicant on this item? And do we have a letter from Alderman Lawson?
We do, and this was sent, I believe, directly to Commissioner Flores, but I do have a copy here to enter into the record.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So if there are no questions or comments from the commissioners, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion on this item. Do I have a motion on a proposed amendment to residential business plan development 306 submitted by Wintrust Bank for the property generally located at 554 through 628 West Diversey Parkway and 2801 through 2807 North Broadway, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Thank you, Commissioner Boatright. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. Roll call vote. Commissioner Boatright, can you confirm?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, yes. Commissioner Galakia?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Pinedo?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. I would also like to go back to
If I
the.
may, it'd be remiss if not to bring it to your attention how helpful Omar and Noah have been, how professional, courteous they've been. They're true professionals and a credit to the city. So we'd like you to just commend them for that. So thank you.
Thank you. I would like to go back to the vote on the minutes, which I believe Commissioner Lyons wants to.
Yes, I'd like to vote yes. Okay,
Okay, so there's a change on that one. Thank you.
thank you.
The next item today is listed as D2. A proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance. Thank you. And Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by 2501 North Clark LLC for the property generally located at 2501 North Clark Street. The property is currently zoned B3 -5 Community Shopping District and is within the private use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. The applicant proposes the construction of a 6-story mixed-use building with 3,775 square feet of retail space, 20 dwelling units, and no vehicular parking spaces. This is Lakefront, item 797, and it's in the 47th ward. Louis Clayton will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
Good morning, Chairwoman Flores and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Louis Clayton with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant, 2501 North Clark LLC, is here today to request approval of a lakefront protection ordinance application 797 to construct a 6-story mixed-use building with 3,775 square feet of retail space, 20 dwelling units, and no vehicular parking spaces. The subject property is located in the Lincoln Park community area and the 43rd ward. The 6,550 square foot site is located at the northeast corner of North Clark Street and West St. James Place. Property is designated as a transit served location for being located within 1,320 feet of a designated CTA bus line corridor segment. Property is located within the private use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. A type 1 zoning map amendment was approved in January, rezoning the property from B1-2 to B3-5, and the current proposal remains unchanged from the previously approved plan. The site is improved with a 1-story commercial building. Adjacent properties include an 8-story hospital to the north and a 3-story multifamily building to the east. Surrounding properties are primarily commercial with mixed use along North Clark Street and multifamily buildings along West St. James Place. At this point, I'll turn it over to the applicant team to walk through the proposal on the next slides.
Thank you. My name is Fred Augustin. I'm the attorney on this matter. Here with me is Bradley Graham, the owner and development team, as well as our architect, John Hanna. This slide is just colored rendering of the proposed building. It's a corner lot, so we have a front view of North Clark, view on St. James, and we also have a corner view of both the building from St. James and Clark. As you can see, it is a 6-story structure, all brick. Project timeline. This is a project we worked with the community on. Initially, we were proposing a 5-story mixed-use building with restaurant, 8 units, and an event space. The community, however, didn't want the event space, but wanted a bigger building and more units. So we amended the project to the current iteration, which is a 6-story building with commercial space, ground floor, 20 units above, and common rooftop deck, but no parking. If approved, we anticipate the construction will take around 18 to 24 months. So next 2 slides are the plans. So this is site plan. Essentially 6-foot or 10-foot rear setback, lot line to lot line. Around the building will be around 32,000 square feet. Next slide. It's the ground floor plan, proposed commercial, 3,775 square feet. 2nd through 6th floors are going to be the dwelling units, are all going to be the same. There's be 4 units on each floor. 2 of the units will be 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and the two other units will be around 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So similar for each floor from second to sixth. As I alluded to, we're gonna have a common rooftop deck for all the residents. Another iteration of front elevation, I believe this is on St. James, all brick. It's on Clark, and all brick. Northview. Yep. It's an elevation. It's an all brick building. Since, we are providing, we're complying with the affordable requirements, ARO 4 units on site, 60% AMI, so it's 20% of what we're providing. Economic benefits, project estimated $9 million, construction jobs temporary around 30. Depending on the use on the ground floor, hopefully, around 10 to 20 permanent jobs. Public benefit, we are providing 20 units, which 4 of them will be ARO designated, so.
All right, again, for the record, Louis Clayton with DPD. DPD has reviewed the proposal and concluded that it is in compliance with the applicable policies for the Lakefront Plan of Chicago and the purposes of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, including promoting public health, safety, and comfort, conserving natural resources, increasing personal safety, ensuring harmony between lakeshore parks and nearby communities, and coordinating development across water, park, and community zones. Please refer to the staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that this application, being in conformance with the provisions of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, be approved, subject to compliance with the plans presented to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. We do have 3 speakers signed up to speak on this item. The first one will be Mr. Butler Adams, who's for the proposal, followed by Ari Akagawa, who's against the proposal. And third, we have Elaine Carlson, who's against the proposal.
For the record, my name is Butler Adams. I am in favor of this proposal. Looking at the renders, to me, it's just a very handsome and attractive building, and I've seen Hannah Architects' name on many projects. And for me, this is one of the nicest projects that has come out of that firm. It kind of reminds me of a modern 1930s building, and I really like how the windows are, how the brick work, and just kind of is in the streetscape very nicely. And I would like to see more stuff like this throughout the entire city. Not only the quality of the design, but the scale of the project as well. I just want to throw this out because there are many changes happening with the city and zoning and different corridors and stuff like that. Cambridge, Massachusetts changed their zoning very recently, and they have a city affordable housing overlay that allows fully affordable buildings of 12 to 15 stories in key corridors. And this is a key corridor. And if we want more affordable housing, perhaps planning and zoning can look at what other cities are doing to bring affordability to their cities and possibly do it here as well. But I do like this project and I'd like to see it move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Next, we have Ari Akagawa. Right here.
Good morning, my name is Ari Akagawa. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I am 11 years old and I live in the 11th ward. I think birds are very important creatures. They are major regulators of the populations of insects, spiders, small to medium mammals, and even other birds. They provide food sources to other predators, recycle carcasses, and fill our skies with beauty and wonder. They are also inspirations for our own cultures and inventions. When I get older, my dream is to develop many sustainable building practices where humans can live harmoniously with nature and create a lifestyle where we respect nature. I am here to ask the developer and architect of the plan for the 2501 North Clark to please use glass for the windows that will not kill birds. I looked at the drawings for this project and I also see that there will be glass railings planned for the balconies and around the rooftop deck, which will have plants. Glass railings are very deadly for birds, and it's even worse for them when they're attracted by the plants and then fly into the glass in front of them. Commissioners, can you please make the people in charge of the 2501 North Clark Street project change this plan? There's no reason to use building materials that are guaranteed to kill birds, and if it ends up being built as planned, it's not going to make anyone happy. People who live in this building are not going to want to see dead or dying birds when they walk outside. And birds already have it hard enough. They're dying off in huge numbers. Can't afford to lose more because someone wants clear glass railings or won't choose patterns for their window glass. Finally, this building will be built very close to the lake where countless birds migrate in the spring and fall. It's our responsibility to protect these migrating birds, and that won't happen unless the design is changed. Thank you for listening. Ariaka Gal.
Thank you for being here. Next, we have Elaine Carlson.
That's me. My name is Elaine Carlson. I am a longtime Chicago resident representing Bird Friendly Chicago. That is a coalition with over 20,000 supporters, including apparently Ari. I'm also a volunteer with Chicago Bird Collision Monitors. That is an organization that protects birds as they migrate along the Mississippi Flyway through our city. And as a volunteer, I rescue the birds that are injured when they collide with buildings, and I help to catalog those that perish from their injuries. Right now, it is fall migration. People across our city are finding dead and dying birds on their sidewalk, on their balconies, and they regularly ask me two questions. Why is this happening, and how can we stop it? I am speaking to oppose the plan at 2501 North Clark Street with the hopes that we can stop this bird collision problem from becoming even worse. If constructed as planned, this building with untreated glass windows, a landscaped rooftop deck, and clear glass guardrails will lure migrating birds to their deaths. This project claims to be compliant with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance by, and they quote, promoting public health, safety, comfort, and conserving natural resources. And yet the proposal ignores one of the most important underlying purposes of the ordinance, and that is specifically, quote, to ensure that the life patterns of fish, migratory birds, and other fauna are recognized and supported. Commissioners, I ask you, please do not let this important part of the ordinance be ignored. Allowing use of glass railings in a critical migratory pathway is irresponsible, and frankly, it is heartless. Not requiring bird-friendly glass in an area where we know birds will be colliding with windows is inhumane. Quest Realty Group and Hannah Architects, please do the right thing. I know that people who live in your building, as Ari said, they will not want to step over dead birds on their way to work when heading out to Sunday brunch, and they don't want to pick them up off their balconies. And I know this because they tell me. When I go to pick them up, they tell me. Constructing buildings responsibly all over Chicago, but especially in the Lakefront District, is how we will put an end to the devastating problem of bird.
Thank you, Ms. Carlson. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff or the applicant on this item?
I do,
Yeah,
I can,
Commissioner
this is, thank you. So this is a point we're hearing a lot about, so let's try to figure out how do we address it. So Noah, question for you, what's the requirement related to the sustainable development policy?
So lakefront protection ordinance applications are not required to meet the sustainable matrix, but there's a separate policy in the lakefront protection ordinance itself that deals with protecting migratory bird patterns and being less impactful on the ecological balance of the lakefront itself. So inherently, having sustainable development or having something that is friendly to birds is part of the lakefront protection ordinance as a whole.
So I was just gonna follow up and say, Mr. Graham, Mr. Hannah, so I mean, just hearing what he has to say, clearly irrespective of whether it is a mandate, or we're hearing this over and over again, so can you please address to what extent you can please comply with the requirements? So we're not dealing with this, and all of us that live in the city, we deal with that all the time, so it would be great to hear your perspective on it.
Sure. So, we do show glass handrails, and we have no problem not showing glass handrails, putting in the more standard steel steel rails. I think that's not a problem. As far as the glass goes, we also can provide a glass, a frit on the glass that will comply with all the bird-friendly ordinances. Not a problem at all.
I think that's what we are hearing. We're not saying it's a beautiful design, change it or anything like that. I think maybe accommodations so that it is bird friendly, protects the birds, and we can get through this and your beautiful project can move forward.
If I could, Commissioner Boatright, I just want to thank you all for just being responsive, because as Noah mentioned, well, it's not a requirement, it's just you all thoughtfulness and just from a sustainable development standpoint, matters. So thank you all for your willingness to explore other ways to ensure the bird friendly design. And I want to thank you for joining us today and speaking so eloquently about the importance of bird friendly design on our field. Refreshing to see the next generation join the Plan Commission, so thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners on this item? Okay. And I don't think I heard if we have a letter from Alderman Knudsen. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I had a question.
Alliance?
Thank you. I had a question just on the number of bedrooms, and if you could just kind of go through what the split will be.
On the 20 units.
Correct, yeah, that just, I couldn't quite.
So basically,
State your name for the record.
Fred Augustine. So 4 units per floor. 2 of the units will be around 950 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. The 2 other units will be, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths at 1,200 square. So,
And just to make explicit, the 4 affordable units will be, 2 will be the 2 bedroom, 2 will be the 3 bedroom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Galakia, followed by Commissioner Pinheiro.
Thank you very much for enabling me to very happily support the project with these edits. It's a great project, super happy with this project. And I'm happy to be able to be positive about it now that you've agreed to just make these bird friendly changes. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yeah, reiterating that point, but I would ask if possible, through the chair, if once the agreement is completed in terms of what kind of adjustments are gonna be made and so forth, related to, I don't know, Louis or Noah or somebody, if you can let us know what the follow-up is and what the adjustments become, that would be helpful.
I will make sure that when we ask for the motion and we vote, it's contingent on those changes, so that it goes on record.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this item? No. Okay, if not,
Sorry, Chairwoman,
Yeah.
Noah, just real quick.
Yeah.
Just for clarity for the architect and attorney, the change to the railings, the change to the window type will not invalidate your type 1 approval in any way, shape, or form. That's the verified, so.
thank you, Noah. So with that, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion. Do I have a motion on a proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by 2501 North Clark LLC for the property generally located at 2501 North Clark Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Galakia. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinheiro. Roll call vote. Commissioner Boatright?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores? Yes. Commissioner Galakia?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Pinheiro?
Yes.
Thank you. So again, motion passes contingent on the 2 changes stated on the glazing and the rating. Thank you. The next item is listed as D3. A proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by 67 East Oak Partners LLC for the property generally located at 67 East Oak Street, The applicant proposes demolishing the existing 5-story vacant structure and then constructing a new 2-story, single-tenant retail structure of 5,960 square feet and approximately 34.5 feet in height. Because of the site's location in the private lakefront protection district, the proposed construction is subject to a hearing before the Chicago Plan Commission. This is lakefront item 799, and it's in the 42nd ward. James Winter will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
For the record, my name is James Gwinner, the Department of Planning and Development. I'm joined by representatives of the project team for the 67 East Oak Street Lakefront Protection Project. This application has been filed for review by the Chicago Plan Commission under the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance. The applicant appears here today because they're seeking to demolish a vacant 5-story multi-tenant retail building located at 67 East Oak Street to construct a new 2-story, 5,960 square foot single tenant retail structure approximately 34.5 feet in height. There's no basement proposed and the FAR will remain 5. Subject site is located within the private use zone of the Lake Michigan Chicago Lakefront Protection District, and therefore the proposed improvements of the site are regulated by section 16-4-150 of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and require approval from the Chicago Plan Commission. Subject site is located in the central region and in the near north side community area. Property is located on the south side of Oak Street and is well served by nearby public transportation options, being located within approximately 650 feet. The CTA's number 143, 146, 147, 148, and 151 bus line stops on Michigan Avenue, and it's approximately 1/2 mile from the CTA Red Line stop at North Clark Street and West Division Street, and at the Red Line stop at Chicago Avenue and North State Street. The site is located in the 42nd ward, and Alderman Riley has provided a letter to the Plan Commission expressing his support. The site is currently zoned DX5, downtown mixed use district, with no request to rezone. As previously stated, the site is within the private use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront District, and therefore any physical change to the property requires review and approval by the Plan Commission. Here are aerial views of the site from the north on the left, the west on the right. Here are the existing conditions at the site, the photo on the right showing the existing building located between the Chanel store to the west and the recently constructed Acris store to the east. And now I'll turn the presentation over to Mike Arkowski, the applicant's architect, to explain the project further.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. So the project timeline right now is, the project is a core and shell build out. So there will be a retail tenant that moves into this space. The timing for the turnover to that tenant is September 1 of 2027. So we have, as pointed out, we have presented this to Alderman Riley and had discussed it with the Native St. Lyle Association and the Oak Street Council. And we are actually in the process right now of discussions with the demolition of the existing building. And with the goal of starting that demolition beginning of next year after the moratorium, and then having that demolition roll directly into the construction of the building. So as noted, we've had reached out to Alderman Riley and Oak Street Council. We have not received any opposition. We've actually received comments of support from everybody that we've reached out to. So a couple of slides with pedestrian context. So one of the one of the problems with the existing building right now, it's in this packet, it's noted, is both as a 5-story and a 6-story. There are actually 6 levels. The first level, however, is a half level down. So you have almost a basement level entry. So as you walk in the front door, you're presented with a staircase that leads you down to that lower level, and then a staircase that leads you up to the second level. The problem with this configuration is that it's not pedestrian friendly, which is contrary to Oak Street requirement, as it is a pedestrian corridor. And there are accessibility issues. The other problem with this is that it does not lend itself to visibility for retailers. So right now, Oak Street is populated with several flagship stores, high-end luxury retailers, and the image of being located in a basement or on the second floor is just not desirable. As a result, for the last several years, the building has been vacant on those lower levels, which is again the prime real estate for Oak Street. So our current plan, as you can see on the right-hand side, is a 2-story structure. So to be demolishing the 6-story structure, 5-story structure, replacing it with a 2-story structure, which is in keeping with the massing of the adjacent structures. So Chanel to the west, Acris to the east, and it will be a single tenant retailer as opposed to having a multi-tenant. Currently, the existing building, every level is divided in half. With 12 tenants, some of them on the upper levels being more service providers, spas, tailors, and a lot of traffic in and out. This, with the lower levels and those intermediate levels being entirely vacant. So the pedestrian context here, again, the pedestrian corridors, that is 60% required, we far exceed that with the visibility of the glazing. And the entrance being directly off of the street, fully accessible. This is a ground floor plan showing the entry doors being recessed so they do not swing over into the right of way, maintaining that sidewalk pedestrian corridor without any obstructions. Currently, the space is just one large open space and open canvas for the retail tenant that moves in. There will be a grand staircase consistent with most of the retailers along Oak Street corridor have this grand entrance, grand staircase connecting the 2 levels. And then there is in the rear of the building, there's a access to the alley, second exit, secondary staircase to lead up to the upper level, and then some back to house spaces, restrooms and the like. And this is a snapshot of the second floor. Again, just a large open space for the incoming retail tenant. And a simple roof plan with just some equipment, limited access up there just for the mechanical systems. And here is a conceptual rendering again showing the new facade, the new building on the pedestrian corridor, retail corridor along Oak Street. And here we have front and rear elevation. So really there's one elevation to speak of, and that would be the north elevation along Oak Street. The 2 sides, it's a 0 lot line project, so it's built right up against its neighbors to the east and west. And in the alley is just a CMU wall with a small recess for trash enclosure. So here again, the east and west elevations. And this is a building section going down longitudinally through that shows the tall ceilings, grand central stair, and then the recess in the back. And a couple of wall sections showing the detail through that front facade. And building materials, again, primarily glass. So now one of the things about Oak Street and you know the requirement for the pedestrian corridor being a 60% opening, most retailers along Oak Street, if they have the opportunity, they'll exceed that 60%. The reason being is because they want to showcase their product. So they're displaying their product. And typically they go the next step where if they have a 16-foot opening, they will literally go through the tremendous expense of eliminating mullions on their glazing, just so that they have a clear view of their product. You don't have shadows going through those mullions. And this design actually goes to that extent where it has the glass mullions. Again, to fully give the retailer the ability to display their product without casting any shadows or obstructions along this corridor. Transportation and parking, currently there is no parking requirement, but there are several parking garages within walking distance, and there are some on-street parking. And use the urban design context here, we are in DX5, and here the elevation here is showing the massing comparable to the adjacent structures. So very pedestrian friendly, pedestrian scale massing for the project. Landscape, so currently the project is, the existing building is 100%, the site is covered with building, and then you have hardscape in the front. There is an existing tree that is going to be replaced. So in that planter there, so we will be preserving that, the landscaping that is there. And the sustainable design, it's our understanding that the retail tenant that will be moving in, we are working with them, coordinating with their design team. It's our understanding that they will be pursuing a lead interiors. So there are a few measures that they've asked us to incorporate: a white roof and increasing ventilation of the mechanical system for improved indoor air quality. Stormwater management, we will be connecting, we are an unregulated site, but we will be connecting to the existing storm sewer off of Oak Street. And economic community benefits, so the cost of the project is about estimated at $8 million. They currently, the existing building is vacant. There is no tax revenue being generated from a vacant building. So there will be an increased revenue there with a new vibrant retail store at that location. We estimate that there's maybe 30 to 40 temporary jobs being created during the demolition and the construction of the new building. And then the new retail tenant, we would estimate between 10 and 12 permanent jobs being created.
Once again, for the record, this is James Gwinner with Department of Planning and Development. DPD has reviewed the project materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that this proposal is in compliance with the applicable policies of the Lakefront Plan of Chicago and the purposes of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance as they apply to development in the private use zone. Specifically, LPO policy number 4, the proposed project will update a retail use property within the Oak Street commercial corridor, which is widely recognized as one of the city's historically premier shopping destinations, as in close proximity to Oak Street Beach and Chicago Lakefront Path. LPO policy number 6, healthy and vibrant retail areas support recreational and leisure time activities. LPO policy number 8, healthy and vibrant retail areas support neighborhood, public, and personal safety. LPO purpose number 7, pedestrian access to Lake Michigan, Oak Street Beach, and other lakefront parks, as well as the vistas within and near to them, are a draw to the contours of the retail district. Please refer to the staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is a recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that this application, being in conformance with the provisions of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, be approved, subject to compliance with the plans presented to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We do have one speaker signed up to speak, Ms. Elaine Carlson, who is against the proposal.
Hello again, for the record, my name is Elaine Carlson, a longtime Chicago resident. I'm here representing Bird Friendly Chicago, a coalition with more than 20,000 supporters. I also volunteer with Chicago Bird Collision Monitors. And during migration seasons, our organization monitors downtown Chicago streets in the early morning hours, and we respond to hotline calls throughout the day. We rescue migratory birds that are injured when they collide with windows, and we document the fatalities. I am speaking to oppose the plan at 67 East Oak with the hope that we can prevent our bird collision problem from becoming even worse, because we know why this is happening. Birds migrating north and south along the Mississippi Flyway are guided by Lake Michigan, and they follow the shoreline, which brings them into Chicago and directly into this luxury retail district. If constructed as planned, this building with its all glass facade of, quote, near complete transparency, end quote, will inevitably result in the death of migrating birds. Commissioners, I beg of you, don't let the important part of the ordinance continue to be ignored, and that is that the life patterns of fish, migratory birds, and other fauna are recognized and supported. Building structures with transparent, all glass facades in a critical migratory pathway is irresponsible. Not requiring bird-friendly glass in an area where large numbers of wild birds are known to regularly travel is inhumane. To the architect, I respectfully request that you consider one of the many types of glass that provides visible patterns to birds that they can see and avoid, but yet are nearly imperceptible to the human gaze. There's ceramic frit, there's acid etching, there's window films. And I know the people who are going to visit 67 East Oak will not be in the shopping mood if they are distracted by dead and injured birds. And I know this because I am one of the Chicagoans who's out there on the streets responding to them. When they find birds, they are not shy. They tell me what they think. Responsible building design and construction all over Chicago, but especially in the Lakefront District, how we are going to stop this environmental disaster of mass bird collisions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Carlson. We don't have any more speakers, but I know I'll just speak for myself. We do want to ask of the applicant to respond to this request, which was presented very eloquently. There is a concern that this is extremely transparent, and it's a very high-end project. So obviously, you've done your research on very specific class. What is your response to the risk of this not being bird friendly?
Okay, well, we have discussed this with the incoming tenant. And they did provide us a response, and actually, I'd just like to read this. And just to start off with this, while we recognize that bird-safe glass is an important sustainability consideration, the use of bird-safe glass is not appropriate for the design of the project. Our facade serves as a key architectural and brand element, and the aesthetic characteristics and dot pattern bird-safe glass would compromise their window displays, which are key showcasing key elements to showcasing our product. So, and I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier as we're going through this, the presentation. Actually, and I brought a few samples of bird glass, regular glass, and bird glass. So, as a design consideration, and we've done a few projects in the area along Oak Street, and these are not just retailers, they're high-end luxury retailers. They pay a tremendous premium to be on Oak Street. And the ordinance actually recognizes this because we're required to have 60% of our glazing be visible from the pedestrian street. Most retailers will actually go to the next level, where if they have, again, a 16-foot bay, they won't put mullions in there because they don't want the distraction of having window mullions blocking their product. Imagine you have a display window with $100,000 worth of product in your display, and you've got mullions blocking the view for pedestrians walking by. So they'll go through a tremendous expense to get a single sheet of glass. Not even be able, this is glass that can't even be fabricated in the United States. It has to get imported because the glass requires special machinery to install, large scale. They also go to the next step where a typical glass, and I don't know if you can see it from this view here, glass has iron in it. It's an impurity typically when they make glass, and it's most visible when the glass is thicker. Most of these retail locations have extremely thick ballistic glass to prevent smash and grabs because of the high cost of the product that's in their displays. So typically the glass, and a lot of these facades is 1.5 inches thick. So this is 1 inch thick, but here you can see that the green is, you can see the green. So as sunlight, as you're looking through this, and you can say on a typical sheet of glass, maybe it's less noticeable. But again, when you get to the thicker glass and when you have this high-end product behind the glass, retailers just don't, it distorts the image of their product. It gives a green cast to this high-end product that they have. Typically, what they'll do is they'll go to a low iron glass, which again, it's a huge expense to go to this, but they do this voluntarily because, again, the view of their product through these display windows on these luxury retail flagship stores is critical to their brand. So this is, and here, this is actually the dot pattern. So the idea, and although we recognize the concern about the bird safe glass, the issue with this dot pattern as pedestrians are walking through, looking at this product and seeing the polka dot pattern, sun going through the glass, casting polka dot patterns on their product, it's not desirable. And so what happens to a retail location that's not desirable? It has a non-desirable characteristic to a retail location. The value goes down. So it's a real estate investment here for our clients. To put a dot pattern actually reduces the value of their property, potentially reducing their rents and income, because it's simply not desirable for these retailers that are on Oak Street. So again, we recognize the importance of it, and we did have that consideration, but again, this is just a real detriment to this specific use for this project at this location. Yeah, I'm happy to pass these around if anybody would like to see these up close.
I accept your response, which obviously was discussed at length. But at this point in our city, I think we need to be, more humane, not just with, the return on investment. And with all these, numbers that we're seeing, but with whoever's gonna be walking into this store, whoever's gonna be walking by the store and not necessarily going in. I don't think it's gonna be appealing to see dead birds in front of the facade, even if it's a very customized material. So I'll, again, speaking only for myself as an architect, I think we need to be less selfish and open-minded about the materials that we're using. Just because things are changing. But again, I'll open it up to the rest of the commissioners for your comments and questions.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Gavekia.
So let me start by saying, we want your business, we want this project. This is, we want to see this, we want to see stores on Oak Street. But we have a conundrum here. What can you help us? What solutions can you offer? How can we think about this? So that we could get both results? Is there a way? What can we do?
Well, they do, there is a product, they have a UV coating on it, and they say that it's invisible, but it's not. We actually have samples of this in our office. So it is a difficult situation because here you've got a project that, again, on one end wants that high visibility, and even the city mandates requires that visibility with their 60%, glazing. And you have this issue with the visibility that again, there's you can't have both. You have either visibility and you have a brand, a tenant, a retailer that wants to move into that space. And what you're mandating here by this class is that you're mandating that they change their image, their brand, the appearance of the product that's behind their glass. And again, this is not something that just, they take lightly. This is actually, again, we've done multiple projects and they go through a tremendous amount of expense to showcase their product. The reason why people go to these stores is because there is a brand there. And by mandating this, you're changing the brand. And again, you're making, if this was mandated, this is not a desirable location. I don't even know if it's feasible. A tenant would look at this and say, I don't want a polka dot pattern on the glass. It's going to show on my product. So again, we're trying to turn a building that is currently vacant because there's issues with it. Accessibility issues, you walk in. One of the problems is that not only when you walk in, there's a staircase, the elevator's right there, and there's just no display window. There's no good place to put display, which is really the selling feature. The point of being on Oak Street is because you want that visibility, right? You want to show your brand. It's a flagship store. The current building doesn't work for that. So our proposal is to change that to give a retailer a desirable location visibility. And by taking that and now covering it with a pattern, and again, they've displayed time and time again where they'll put in the low iron glass. They don't want that, and again, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to get large pans of glass without mullions, right? I mean, it's a huge engineering feat. quite frankly, to have that installed. Again, I know it's not, we're talking about economics here, but again, we're talking about retail, right? And if the economics don't work, it just, the location doesn't work and it devalues the property is what it does.
I understand, and I'm not, I hear that you
Yeah.
have, I hear the expense and I hear you looked at all of this. I'm trying to ask honestly, is there any kind of way that we could approach this that could help? I mean, truly, I appreciate the point. I'm not saying that I don't, but is there some kind of way we can think this through? I don't know, I mean, we're on the spot, right?
Okay.
And by the way, I apologize to Department of Planning staff that I did not have a chance to bring this up earlier, and I'm just bringing it up in the moment here. Normally, I would try and, at least have a conversation with them. I did not get a chance to do that in advance, so, but I just, yeah, I'm truly asking a question of how would you tackle this question?
And again, we've gone to the retail tenant and they said they don't want it. So what happens when somebody is trying to purchase something and they don't want it? So it's jeopardizing, I think. The image of the retail tenant in the property, the product.
But maybe a larger question,
So-
I'll
I think another option is to just ask if you need more time to think over or to come up with options. But again, I don't know if that's something for you guys to view. Any other comments or questions to add to this?
Matthew Gusky, the permitting consultant. Can we request a deferral for us to review this and look into it in more depth and possibly revisit it and see if there's anything the incoming tenant might accept that would be a compromise for both?
Yes,
That would be good.
I think we will appreciate that extra time. So let's ask for a motion on deferring this item to a later date that we don't know yet. Do I have a motion to defer this item? Item B3, do I need to read the whole description? Or just ask for the motions, right? Okay, so do I have a motion? Commissioner Pinedo, do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. Commissioner Bollright, thank you. Commissioner Flores, yes. Commissioner yes. Thank you. Commissioner Lyons? Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you, and Commissioner Pinedo.
Yes.
Okay, motion to defer this item to a later date.
Thank you. And I want to thank the commission for having us, allowing us to present today.
And let the record reflect that Commissioner Ramiro Rosa is in attendance. Thank you. We'll go on to the next item. The next item is listed as D4. A proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by Chicago Park District for the property generally located at 451 North Lakeshore Drive. The property is currently zoned Planned Zone Development number 368. It is within the public view zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. The applicant proposes to develop the development of the 3.44 acre disabled park with pathways, open space, and amenities. Lakefront protection item 798, and it's in the 42nd ward. Louis Clayton will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
Morning, Chairwoman Flores and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Louis Clayton with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant, Chicago Park District, is here today to request approval of Lakefront Protection Ordinance Application 798 to develop the 3.44 acre DuSable Park with pathways, open space, and amenities. The proposed park design builds on a 2006 Park District Framework Plan and includes a bridge link to the Navy Pier flyover, riverfront underpasses, public plazas, an observatory, woodland and wet prairie areas, a mural wall, pavilion, and other artistic elements. The subject property is located in the near north side community area in the 42nd Ward. DuSable Park is bounded by Lakeshore Drive to the west, Ogden Slip to the north and east, and the Chicago River to the south. The site is currently undeveloped and serves as a construction staging area for the neighboring construction site. Property is designated as a transit served location for being located within 1,320 feet of a designated CTA bus line corridor segment. The site is located within the public use zone of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection District. The site is zone plan development number 368 and no zoning change is proposed. Shown here are two aerial views illustrating the existing site conditions and surrounding context, looking from the northeast and the southeast. At this point, I'll turn it over to the applicant team to walk through the proposal on the next slides.
Thank you, Louis, and good morning, Chairwoman Flores and members of the Chicago Plan Commission. My name is Matthew Alley. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Ackerman LLP with offices located at 71 South Wacker Drive. Along with my colleague, Jack George, we represent the applicant for this project, the Chicago Park District. Joining me this morning are the following. To my left, we have Heather Gleason, Director of Planning and Development, the Chicago Park District, Matthew Santagata, Lakefront Planning Coordinator with the Chicago Park District, and Sheena Chow, an associate with Brook Architecture. At this point, I'll turn it over to Heather to walk through our project and presentation.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, commissioners. Again, my name is Heather Gleason, Director of Planning and Development for the Chicago Park District. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. So we wanted to speak a little bit about the site's historical context. Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable is recognized as the city's first non-Indigenous settler in Chicago. His wife, Kitty Hawa, was a member of the local Potawatomi tribe, part of the larger Anishinaabe group of the Indigenous people of the Great Lakes region that included Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Odawa tribes. As our historian on our team has explained to us, DuSable's vital statistics are inexact. So some of the dates that we have don't necessarily all line up. He was born, we think, around 1745 in St. Mark, Haiti, to a mother of West African ancestry and a father of French descent. Some histories have him educated in France and arriving in the Louisiana Territory around 1765. He traveled extensively, including up to Canada, and then settled in Chicago sometime around 1769. The cabin you see on the left is a small part of the holdings that he and Kitty Hawa would eventually create. By the time they sold their holdings to John Kinsey in 1804, it was a thriving estate with many outbuildings and significant resources. The image on the right from 1827 calls the once DuSable family-owned estate as the Kinsey Mansion. But we have no known records of Kitty Hawa's life, specifically before her marriage to DuSable. We hope that further scholarship and history will change that over time. But we do know that they were married in a Potawatomi ceremony sometime in the 1770s, and then again in a Catholic ceremony in 1788. And we know that they had two children, Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable Jr. and Suzanne Pointe-du-Sable. What we really do know, though, is that both of them together, DuSable and Kitty Hawa, built this thriving trading post estate on the banks of the Chicago River and the mouth of Lake Michigan that would someday become our city of Chicago. Next slide, please, if you could. Thank you. So the Chicago Park District worked with the community to create a framework plan for the site in 2006. As you can see, the framework plan had several goals, including, just to name one, and very important one, obviously, is to honor and celebrate Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable's contributions to Chicago and to educate the public. Over the next couple of slides, we hope to show you how we tried to achieve that goal in the framework plan in the design for the park. So next slide. So the Park District engaged in a very comprehensive and inclusive design process that we started in the third quarter of 2022. We did a target market request for proposals, and MBE-WBE firms, Brook Architecture, led by Ramona Westbrook and represented here today by Sheena Chow, and Carol Ross Barney Architects were awarded the design contract. Together, they make up the DuSable Park Design Alliance. And then we also added a couple of experts. So we have a DuSable history scholar from Roosevelt University, as well as an artist for site interpretation who is local to Chicago. We quickly then set up a steering committee made up of both people who live near the site, as well as advocates and groups that have long fought for the development of this park, such as the DuSable Heritage Association, the DuSable Park Advisory Council, and Friends of the Parks, among others. We wanted to ensure that we had a myriad of voices that were helping give us feedback on the design for the park. And as you can see in this timeline, it's taken us a couple years, but we have definitely had a lot of community meetings and steering committee meetings that we've conducted to discuss the design. So next slide. Just to summarize how many we've had over the last 3 years or so, we've held 7 steering committee meetings and 4 broader community meetings. We also brought the project before the River Ecology and Governance Task Force for review and got their feedback. And then we also had this unique opportunity with the Newberry Library. They invited us and our steering committee to come to the Newberry to talk about what Indigenous people and cultures were living in Chicago at the time of DuSable's arrival. Really, again, to serve as that education function. And we hope to partner with the Newberry and other libraries to continue this research over time. Some of the project changes, as you can see that we changed in the project based on feedback from our steering committee and the public. We had the flyover connection bridge, which was originally called out in the framework plan in 2006. But as we started talking with the community, and as you'll see when we get to the designs, it is a park that's a little isolated on the other side of Lakeshore Drive. So we wanted to make sure that we had a connection to the flyover and make sure that people coming from all directions of the city would have a way to get to the park. We also added bike parking, both off the flyover and at grade level to discourage riding through the park. And though it's not on our property, we worked with CDOT and Related Midwest on a drop-off lane that's right underneath Lakeshore Drive. So you won't see it in the images, but we have confirmed with them that they are still planning to do that. And the reason we did that was because we wanted to make sure, one, that people with mobility challenges, because the park is so challenging to get to, we wanted, like, if you have your family and you're going to the park for the day, that you can just drive in under Lakeshore Drive and drop off your family and then go find a place to park to make it easier for people to get to. And then also, as many of you probably know, the Park District has hundreds of kids in our summer programs. And one of the things that we do with kids during the summer is take them on field trips. And we knew as soon as we were going to build this park that would be, again, serving an education function so that we can bring children to the site in buses and drop them off safely and get them back on and that sort of thing. So that drop off is also being added as part of the project. Then we also, the community wanted us to expand the boardwalk that we had. We had sort of a smaller version of it, but they wanted us to make it broader. So we increased that. And then also they asked us to add more trees and green space. So we increased the size of our Great Lawn and added more trees. Slide. So this is what the site looks right now. You can see it's pretty barren. We did have to do environmental remediation. That was one of the barriers to getting this park developed. We conducted the remediation in 2 phases with the US EPA. We had a grant that we worked on from 2018 to about 2021 to remove thorium hotspots, which are prevalent in Streeterville. And then we had to screen down to native sand and soil. So the site is completely clean. We received a certificate of completion from the US EPA in 2022. So as I mentioned, one of the most challenging parts of the project is access. So you can see we sort of tried to number how people could get to the site since we're on the other side of DuSable Lakeshore Drive. So number 1 is showing that River Esplanade connection that we think will be a main access point. Number 2 is showing that drop off, even though you can't quite see it under there, it will be at grade and it will allow people to get to the site. And then 3 is off of the flyover. And 4, we're also working with CDOT on opening up their bridge house. So there's a staircase at mid-level Lakeshore Drive that you really can't use right now. And so we've talked extensively with them of trying to create that as a 4th access point that they've agreed to work with us on. And this is just another perspective view, trying to give a little bit more explanation to how people are coming through. So you can see sort of the 3-pronged arrow that's in sort of that pink color is really off the River Esplanade. And then we've got the bus drop off and the flyover and bridge house connections. So this is really the detailed site plan that we want to take you through. So A is coming off of that river Esplanade. And the idea is that you're going to walk through the park and experience the history of DuSable and Kittihawa and also just enjoy the lake and the river views as you come into the park. So A is sort of that main entry at grade level from the river. And then B is the boardwalk that goes all the way around the site on the edge that we increased at the request of the community. C is the River Plaza, which is a place that we think people will like to gather. We may also have artwork there as well, which we can get into later. D is the site of the wet prairie, which will host native plantings and is an important part of our biofiltration for stormwater on the site. And then also, as you come around off of C, you'll go through what is the Park Pavilion, which is labeled E here. And that is essentially a graphic illustration in a structure that will represent everything that DuSable and Kittihawa owned. We actually have the original bill of sale for when they sold their estate. It is in the original French, so we were thinking we'd have several panels that would be in different languages. So one would be in French, one would be in Haitian Creole, one would be in English, and one would be in Spanish for visitors to admire. And then F would be what we're calling the Exchange Plaza. So we'll get into some of the renderings and you'll be able to see it a little better, but there are stone seats around F there. And that we were thinking of as an educational space. So we could have lectures about DuSable or Kittihawa. We could have movies in the park, any kind of community gatherings or plays even, or something that would be a place for people to gather. And when we don't have an event, they can just sit and enjoy looking at the view. G is our open grass lawn. Again, we increased it as part of the design process, which the community asked us to do. H is the woodland, which is on the far north end of the park, and that is intended to be sort of a quiet contemplative space. We also envision that at some point people might want to go fishing there. It's right on the canal. And then also we have the mural wall, which is labeled I here. Which we'll get into more details on. And then J is the path down to grade, K is our flyover connection, and L is an overlook that will be elevated that you can look out over Navy Pier in the lake. So not labeled on the site plan, but we want to mention also is that we will have a timeline that our steering committee is still working on giving us feedback about. So the timeline is envisioned to kind of go from A sort of all the way down through F and around to talk about DuSable's legacy, his journey, his relationship with Kittihawa and the native tribes in the area, and then sort of, how the history kind of comes alive, and the intent is that you sort of walk through the park to do that. And also open space and landscaping. We will have many trees, mostly native species like downy serviceberry, river birch, eastern hornbeam, and swamp white oak. The lawn area will be grass, of course, and then the wet prairie will have native plants that tolerate wet conditions, or like wet feet, as they say in our Department of Natural Resources. We'll also have many native forbs and grasses, such as nodding wild onion, common woodland sedge, butterfly weed, black-eye Susan, and purple coneflowers. And that's just a few of the species. There's so many of them, I did not name them all here. But ground covers and shrubs will include grow low sumac, and then dwarf bush honeysuckle. So materials on the site, the River Plaza is envisioned to be a stabilized pathway mix to make it easy for folks to walk. The pavilion is in metal, and again, that will represent what they owned. The boardwalk is wood, and then we will also have many permeable pavers on the main walkways, stone seats, and as well as a mural wall made out of tile and paint. So you're getting a lot of different types of materials on the site. So this is the beginning of our renderings here. So the entrance to the site is intended to be sort of, as you come out of the Riverwalk entrance, you'll have a sort of expansive view, not just of the park, but of the lake. We'll have an entry plinth that you can see there on the right that will call out DuSable Park. We'll have a little bit of a map there. We will also have a land acknowledgement on that sign and just give people a sense of what the park is about as they start walking through. And then you can see the pavilion off to your left there that we've discussed. And I think we can go to the next one. Thank you. So this is a rendering of the boardwalk. So you're looking east, you can see Navy Pier over there in the foreground. And then we're intending to have a lot of different types of seating along the river, so that people can just sit and contemplate, but also sort of parade up and down the boardwalk as well. And then we'll obviously have a lot of trees and shrubs intermixed for shaded. So this is the flyover connection. So in this image, you're looking north toward the mural walls on your left there. You can see sort of Lake Point Tower is that tall building on your right. And this is just to illustrate the number of ways that you can get to the flyover. You can be on the flyover connection and then get down to grade. So it's hard to see in the image, but that is sort of the serpentine path that we showed you on the site plan. That will be fully ADA accessible. We worked very closely with MLPD to make sure we had slopes and cross slopes correct on our drawings. And then also there'll be a stone staircase that if people want to use that instead and get down to grade that way, they can do that as well. I think, yeah, that's perfect. So this slide illustrates section of the mural wall. I promise it'll be very colorful. I'm sorry we don't have that all right now, but our mural artist, Dorian Sylvain, who's our local artist, put together these panels that again is sort of to illustrate both Kitty Howard and DuSable's life in Chicago and the various relationships that they had. It will be a mix of glazed ceramic tile and painted sections as well. And then this is our sustainable development policy. So we are in PD 368. So we are planning on meeting the PD guidelines and that we are seeking 25 points, which includes exceeding the energy code, productive landscapes, native landscapes, tree health, exceeding our stormwater ordinance by 25%, and then non-residential bike parking and waste diversion. And then stormwater compliance, as I mentioned, we're using a lot of permeable pavers on the site to help filter that water down to our bioinfiltration area that will be filled with native plants. So hopefully we're filtering the stormwater by using our natives. And then we will also have an outflow to the Ogden Slip, which we have coordinated both with the Army Corps and with Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And then economic and community benefits include 13 million via open space impact fees, and the PD actually requires Related Midwest to provide $10 million towards building the park. They've been great partners as we've helped to develop the park design. And they are, with their construction, they will be creating 141 jobs. The project will exceed 26 MBE and 6% WBE as the PD requires. And then our public benefits include waterfront access, green space, cultural interpretation, education resources, and tourism. And then last but not least, as I mentioned before, we were lucky enough to get a US EPA grant several years ago of $6 million to be able to clean the site. And I will turn it back over to Matt to conclude.
Thank you. To conclude our presentation, as has been mentioned, and as a result of the comprehensive and extensive planning and community engagement that the Park District undertook for the project, we have received letters of support for this matter from the following. Alderman Brendan Riley from the 42nd Ward, Paul Montez, President of the DuSable Park Advisory Council, Dr. Peggy Montez, the only living member of the DuSable Park Project, which dates back to Mayor Harold Washington, Nicholas Paul, President of the DuSable Heritage Association, Ryan Gladstein, Executive Director of Friends of the Park, and lastly, John Paul Jones, President of the Sustainable Inglewood Initiatives and the Emmett Till Commemoration Initiative. These have been submitted to the Planning Commission. We have copies with us today as well, if anyone would like to see. Lastly, we greatly appreciate the Planning Commission's time and consideration. Respectfully request this commission's approval of the Park District's Lakefront Protection Ordinance application. We greatly appreciate DPD staff's help along the way, and we would welcome any questions or comments from the commission that we could address at this time. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt. Again, for the record, Lewis Clayton with DPD. DPD has reviewed the proposal and concluded that it is in compliance with the applicable policies of the Lakefront Plan of Chicago and the purposes of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, including promoting public health, safety, and comfort, conserving natural resources, maintaining and enhancing the continuous character of lakefront parks, preserving their cultural, historical, and recreational heritage, increasing recreational opportunities, developing wildlife habitats, and increasing personal safety. Please refer to the staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that this application, being in conformance with the provisions of the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance, be approved, subject to compliance with the plans presented to you today.
And the applicant for that thoughtful presentation. We do have 3 speakers signed up to speak on this item. First, we will start with Hannah Williams, who's for the proposal, followed by Gail Spring, who's also for the proposal, and Mr. Butler Adams, who's for the proposal.
Hi, good morning, Chairman Flores and the members of the Chicago Plan Commission. My name is Hannah Williams and I'm here on behalf of Friends of the Parks. I'm excited to be here today to voice our strong support for the application from the Chicago Park District to construct DuSable Park. Nearly 40 years ago, Mayor Harold Washington dedicated this site at 451 North DuSable Lakeshore Drive as parkland to honor Jean-Baptiste Point DuSable, Chicago's first non-Indigenous settler, a man of Haitian descent, and his wife, and his Potawatomi wife, Kitty Hawa. Yet despite that historic commitment, this land has remained undeveloped. Today, we have the opportunity to take a meaningful step closer to filling that long-delayed promise, creating a park that honors both our city's beginnings and completes the undeveloped parcel of parkland along the downtown riverfront. For more than 2 decades, Friends of the Parks has been a consistent advocate for realizing this vision. More recently, we have participated in the Community Steering Committee and collaborated with DuSable Heritage Association and community leaders to ensure that the future park will reflect community values, equity, and environmental stewardship. The proposed DuSable Park will expand public access to both the Chicago River and the Lake Michigan, 2 of our city's most treasured natural resources. It will strengthen pedestrian connectivity, provide vital natural habitat for birds and pollinators, and create flexible spaces for events such as education and community connection. Most importantly, it will serve as a living tribute to DuSable and Kitty Hawa, ensuring that their stories and contributions are permanently etched and woven into the heart of our lakefront. As Friends of the Park celebrates our 50th year advocating for equity and access to high-quality parks and open spaces, we're proud to stand behind this project and the Chicago Park District. DuSable Park represents not just a long-awaited completion of this promised parkland, but a powerful expression of who we are as a city that honors its history, its people, and its natural beauty. We urge the Plan Commission to approve this application and help make this historic vision a reality. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Gail Spring.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gail Spring. I am the president of the CCEMA, which is the City Front Center East Maintenance Association. And I participated in the DuSable Park Steering Committee for the past several years, as well as I'm on the DuSable Coalition, the DuSable Park Advisory Council. I live like a block away and I look at this every day. So as we are supporting getting the DuSable Park completed, as it's been a long time coming, there's concerns with the design, historical acknowledgements, and future maintenance. The location of DuSable Park at the mouth of the Chicago River and the lakefront, it should be a gateway into Chicago, welcoming everyone and being very inclusive to all, kind of like the Ellis Island of Chicago. The park's named after DuSable, but his marriage to Kitty Hawa is what really had him accepted into the Native community and was able to establish their trading posts there. The Potawatomi included DuSable into their tribe, and we should showcase this same act of inclusion with DuSable and Kitty Hawa recognized evenly together, as it was their union that had DuSable stay and be considered the founder of Chicago. There are several locations within the park and Lakeshore Drive underpass that are going to be telling the history of DuSable and Kitty Hawa. And at this point, there's no coordination of this whole story, from the underpass to the walkway, to the wall, to the pergola, lots of different stories being told. So I just feel there needs to be coordination on that. The bridge that is designed to connect the park and the flyover bridge is in a location where the bikes are moving very quickly from the north as well as the south. This creates an intersection or a conflict point that we feel will create a hazardous situation. There are other locations to provide the connection to the flyover as well as provide bike storage. Also, the cost for the bridge, it should actually come out of CDOT's budget and not the park budget, as it was always part of the flyover bridge plan, which I was involved in that for like 20 years. Another concern is that there's no comfort stations or washrooms at the park. There's intent to bring busloads of children to the park for educational purposes, and this is necessary to have facilities for everyone as the park sits isolated and a distance from any other facilities. Currently, the City Front Center East Maintenance Association is responsible for the ongoing maintenance of DuSable Park, the Riverwalk, the Lakeshore Drive Underpass, and Ogden Plaza. The Chicago Park District has said that they will maintain DuSable Park in the future, and it will not be the responsibility of the CCEMA. We received a letter from the Park District yesterday stating their commitment in writing. Next step will be to legally have it removed from the CCEMA's Declaration of Responsibility, and we will work with the Park District to have that done. As much as we want to see DuSable Park get built at this time, there still seem to be issues with the design and process. I do appreciate the fact in these designs that southeast corner, which we feel should be the most amazing corner that everybody's going to be going by, all the boats, the wetlands have been removed from that corner because it really seems like that's going to be a fabulous corner. I could be wrong, but it doesn't look like that might be the wetlands. It's going to be such a cool corner and a great place to sit. So hopefully that's the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spring. Mr. Butler Adams?
For the record, again, my name is Butler Adams. Of course, I'm in favor of this proposal. I've been looking at this site now for 24 years. I've been doing boat tours, and Gail and I got a chance to walk this site, I guess, 10 years ago. She's known me for 20 years as well, but this is a long time coming. I'm glad to hear the young lady who spoke before mention the fact that it's been in the process for now about 4 years, because it came in under Harold Washington and took a long, long time to clean up the site. And in my time, I've gotten a chance to see now this project. I've seen a whole Riverwalk also by Harold Spawning. I've gotten a chance to see the South Bank and also the expansion of Pingtown Park in Chinatown. And one thing that I would love to see, I'm glad that Gail mentioned the fact that we need a comfort station and restrooms for this park, because if you're gonna have movie night and bring kids in, or the people are gonna need a place for bathrooms and stuff like that. But this is somebody who does love nature and trees, going along the river every single day. I personally love weeping willows and maple trees. So in fall, those are very, very pretty. And just to add that with this would be very, very nice. There was mention about access to this site, and I just want to point it out that at one time there was an additional point of access on the north side of this project along Ogden Slip. And that got cut out because of the people in the townhomes along East North Water Street and the alderman went along with that. There was supposed to be an extra access point on the north side. So that was taken out about, I guess, 6 years ago when 400 Lakeshore Drive got approved. I know we're gonna have murals and stuff like that, so I'm looking forward to see that as well. And I'm glad to hear the authority is finally being cleaned up from the site, and that's about it. Looking forward to this.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I'll open it up to the commissioners if they have any questions or comments of the applicant. Commissioner Pinheiro?
Yeah, I do have a question. Thank you very much. Very thoughtful and with historical context presentation. So I really enjoyed it. I'm familiar with the site as well. So I just wanted to, but what came to mind immediately as I saw it was access, right? So I'm glad you spent the time helping us understand that. I just have a couple of questions to expand on the access question. So on the high-rise building that is being built there where we see the foundation, can we go to page 12 of the, yeah, on that plot of land that seems to be south of the high-rise development, is that part of that same development, or is that public land?
Yeah, it is not public land. It's part of their development, and I believe it's their phase 2. So they and maybe Nor or the department can speak to this a little more. They are intending to build a second high rise.
Okay.
When that will come, we don't know. The current first one is in development now. Luckily, as we set up the planned development many years ago, they're required to build the park with the first tower, not wait for the second one. So that's why Related Midwest is contributing the $10 million. They want their certificate of occupancy from the city. And so they're required to, help us build the park as a result of that.
Understood. Okay, so that's one, I guess, important access point. So then, if that's the case, I do know that south of the Ogden Slip, there's that walkway there, and it is open to the public right now. I don't know if it's open, but is it a private, and is it going to be blocked by the development in the northern end of that
Yes,
That
that's
person?
what Butler was referring to in his testimony. So when the 400 North Lakeshore Drive building was approved, that access was on the north end cut off to DeSable Park. So it is being blocked. I don't know the evolution of their plans to what extent, or if it's possible to redo that at some point in the future. But that's partly why we felt like the flyover connection was so important. So we only have one at grade connection. And so we were like, we got to get people there. And even if there's some kind of an emergency on the site, we do have approval from our fire department, and they looked at this really carefully with us. But we wanted to make sure people could exit and enter the park safely. So we tried to create as many access points since we don't have that Ogden slip.
Yeah, and which brings me to the final point, which is spurred by the comment that was made about, I don't know whether buses are gonna be expected with children and so forth and so on, but unless I'm missing something and I know the context around it, I don't see how the logistics of buses. The McClurg is a fairly tight corridor right there. Once you turn left or over into that neighborhood, it's very difficult to get through. How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, we probably should have provided under Lakeshore Drive so you could see, there is a ramp that comes down. It's a little bit hard to see. And that would be the same way that the 400 North Lakeshore traffic is moving as well. So the buses would come down sort of mid-level Lakeshore Drive and then in a drop off underneath Lakeshore Drive and then go back up the ramp. So, and that's how cars would go as well. So we didn't, we try not to provide parking in parks actually, because we want to maximize green space. But we knew that there's really not parking nearby. So we knew we were gonna have to have, so we worked with Related Midwest on it as well on CDOT, because we're like, you're gonna have a massive traffic problem because people aren't gonna be able, if they don't know how to get there and where they can go, it's gonna block all the residential traffic and it's gonna be kind of a mess. So they agreed, and that's not on our property, which is why I can't show it to you, but it is in the works.
Understood. Okay, great. Well, wonderful project. Thank you for answers.
My pleasure. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Lyons?
No. Oh, just as a follow-up to the question about the entrance from the river Esplanade. Well, can you say anything about what the pedestrian experience will be like coming, if somebody's walking, say, from the downtown along the river?
Sure.
In, signage, or how do we sort of make that welcoming, that experience to get into the park?
Yeah, absolutely. So the River Esplanade is, I believe, part of the signage is actually on Related Midwest as they're developing that part of so my understanding is there will be signs that point you towards this, I don't know what else to call it, a tunnel that will take you through to DuSable Park. It'll be, and it basically will be improved with art, which is I think what Gail Spreen was mentioning. That part of the project is with Related Midwest and DCASE. I do think that we have an opportunity still to coordinate some of that story. I don't know what the art is that has been discussed there, but spoiler alert for my steering committee, don't tell on me, but we are going to have 2 separate sculptures on the site as well. And one of them is with Mellon Foundation funding from DK. So I think we have opportunities to collaborate because, to Gail's point, we want the story to feel linear if we can. And so I think that's the experience. You'll be sort of walking through a tunnel that has artwork that will then bring you out onto DuSable Park. So we sort of had to figure that all out back in 2020 when we passed the PD, because as I think you're all mentioning, access is really challenging here.
Commissioner Marita Wilson, like to speak.
Yeah, does anyone else have questions?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I will offer some recusal remarks. So thank you, Chair, and thank you to my Park District colleagues for that excellent presentation. What's before us today is the next and final regulatory step for DuSable Park, approval under the Lakefront Protection Ordinance. This is more than a procedural vote. It is the culmination of generations of vision and persistence and the fulfillment of promises and dreams. It was over 125 years ago that Eric Montgomery Ward went to court again and again to defend our lakefront, establishing the doctrine that it must remain forever open, clear, and free. Because of his fight, every generation since has inherited a shoreline that belongs to the public. And it was 37 years ago, in 1988, that Mayor Harold Washington dedicated this land as DuSable Park, declaring that the father of Chicago, John Baptiste Point DuSable, should finally be honored at the very mouth of the river where our city began. And it was nearly 250 years ago, in the 1780s, that Tusabo, through his marriage and partnership with Kitikawa, a Potawatomi woman, established a settlement here on land that indigenous nations had long known as a place of gathering, trade, and exchange. That is the lineage that converges in this moment. Indigenous Chicago, Haitian Chicago, Black Chicago, Civic Chicago, all meeting at the river's edge, all claiming space in the public realm, all reaching toward tomorrow. I want to thank Chicago's Haitian community and Native American communities, whose advocacy and cultural leadership have ensured that this park will honor the full truth of our origins. I want to thank the design team and of course our Chicago Park District staff, who have carried forward Mayor Washington's and the community's vision with care, creativity, and integrity. When this park opens, it will not only complete the story of our lakefront, it will honor our city's founder and advance our city's goal of a lakefront that is forever open, clear, and free for the people. The Park District is proud to bring this project forward before the Plan Commission today. But for the record, I will now recuse myself from the vote, given my role as General Superintendent and CEO of the Chicago Park District. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners before? Oh,
Just Chairwoman, I wanted to mention there's somebody watching on a live stream who's been involved in this project since her days with Harold Washington, Dr. Peggy Montez. It's her 89th birthday. She really wanted to be here. She couldn't be here, so she is watching on the live stream. Give her a shout out.
Commissioner Lyons?
One question, when can we hope to expect completion of the project so folks can?
Yeah, absolutely. So our next step after this, we will be coming into the city for permit. So we expect that we'll be able to break ground in the spring. We are tentatively planning on March in 2026. But since Related Midwest is helping us with the bidding and everything else, we'll keep everybody apprised. And they're telling us that it should take through probably mid 2027 to have it completed, and then we can have a great ribbon cutting.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before I ask for a motion? No, if not, shit. Do I have a motion on proposed Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance application submitted by Chicago, by the Chicago Park District for the property generally located at 451 North Lakeshore Drive, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
So
Thank you, Commissioner Boatright. Do I have a second?
second.
Thank you, Commissioner Garakia. Roll call vote. Commissioner Boatright?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, yes. Commissioner Garakia?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Pinedo?
Yes.
Thank you. And I have a recusal from Commissioner Ramirez Rosa on this item. Motion passes. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
It is fun, you guys see that an issue with no washroom. Somebody hits it and I'm still always from under the shirt and I with it. I don't think I got to see what I saw. Space and the jokes. I'm just glad I don't have to do anything because I don't think it's gonna be good.
Just a reminder, everybody in the room, the mics are in full room. Everything you say is picked up by the microphone.
We're gonna move on to the next item. The next item is listed as D5. And this is an informational presentation that will cover the Irving Park Road Study, a two-phase planning effort that will focus on a 6-mile stretch of West Irving Park Road between California and Overhill Avenue in the Irving Park, Portage Park, and Dunning community areas. Led by the Department of Planning and Development, the study will assess the corridor and identify 5 focus areas with the potential to increase residential choices, encourage transit-supported land uses, improve the compatibility of new development to nearby lower-scale neighborhoods, and strengthen pedestrian connections to open space and transit. This is in the 30th, 33rd, 35th, 38th, 39th, and 45th wards. Carmen Martinez will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
Hello, everyone. For the record, my name is Carmen Martinez, with the Department of Planning and Development, Northwest Region. Thank you, Commissioners. For just a quick review again, there are 6 wards participating in this study, crossing 3 community areas of Irving Park, Portage Park, and Dunning. As mentioned, our study area is from California Avenue to Overhill Avenue, crossing 3 community areas with 6 wards. The study area, as shown, essentially goes from Corner Park all the way west of Dunning. Crossing over CTA, Metra, SSAs, 6 parks along the corridor. And our study team that we have procured is Site Design Group with 5 other consultants. Just to mention, we have exceeded the minimum MBE WBE percentage, a total of 70.7%. As mentioned, our study is a 2-phase planning effort with 2025 focusing on the existing conditions of the corridor between California and Overhill. The goal is to identify 5 focus areas along the corridor, and we are seeking to increase residential choices along the corridor as well as adjacent, promoting land uses that will support transit-served bus and rail routes. We want to improve new development, not just on the corridor, but surrounding the residential areas, and looking to enhance pedestrian connections to open space and transit stops. We have been in communication and collaboration with CDOT, CTA, IDOT, as well as the Park District. Previous planning efforts that have come through this area, as well as throughout the city of Chicago, Better Street for Buses plan that was done with CTA and CDOT, identifying a number of corridors that they're working on this year, identifying Irving Park as a Better Street for Buses priority network. Previously, well, about 10 years ago, there was a 6 Corners economic development plan that identified a desire for more diverse retail businesses and enhancing cultural offerings. Our study is not going to focus necessarily on 6 Corners. We're using this for reference to be able to continue to provide recommendations for future development. In 2024, the region performed a commercial corridor analysis with SB Friedman, as well as a number of other sub-consultants, analyzing 191 commercial corridor segments, which is 80 miles of the Northwest region, identifying some of the local economies, characteristics, and market trends. And from that study, we were able to identify strategic implementation recommendations for certain corridor types. And Irving Park Road mostly is emerging and established. We have already begun some community outreach, working with 35 community partners made up of residents, chambers of commerce, SSAs, business owners. We've engaged with Taft Academy, as well as Wilbur Wright College. Other new businesses have come online, as well as our aldermanic ward offices. One of our efforts in August was gathering all of our community partners to provide a charrette workshop to be able to understand and have a SWOT analysis done for the corridor. With those 35 partners, we were able to identify high-level strengths and weaknesses of the corridor, as well as get some feedback of situations that the schools are facing with their patrons and students accessing the site, as well as new businesses that have come online. The second community outreach effort that we had in September was at Independence Park, where we were able to speak with 110 residents and patrons of the park that day. And we were able to get a lot of feedback on the corridor, giving in-person writing and locating some of the comments that people had along the corridor. Again, the first phase, we had to perform it in 2 phases just due to time and available corporate funds to do the study. So working with our consultants through the first quarter, like getting through procurement and starting to establish our community partner group. We moved into kickoff meetings. We did a walking tour, had learning lessons with our partners. Through the third quarter, trying to combine all the engagement, collecting all of the data with our consultants. We also have T.Y. Lin, that's our transportation consultant, doing parking analysis and studies. Our first partner meeting was already held, and now we're gearing toward our second community partner meeting that is scheduled for November 3rd. And tentatively holding early to mid-December for our public open house. We'll be able to gather additional feedback. Draft reports for the existing conditions are being worked on now. And as we continue to plan for the end of the quarter, the deliverable will then be an existing conditions report with some focus areas identified so that we can plan for phase 2 for 2026. And again, 2026 and funding is still kind of pending. And once that is approved, we'll have a schedule for further engagement and outreach. And we'll still be trying to figure out what we'll do with our consultant team and their scope of work.
Thank you, Carmen. I got a budget of this yesterday, so I had a chance to ask questions, but I'll open it up to the commissioners to see if you, and we do have one speaker signed up to speak, so let me go on to that. Mr. Butler Adams?
Yeah, it's just me again real quick. I don't have that much to add just yet because I know this is very, very, very early in the stage, but I do hope that this is as aggressive as what was done with Western, and I know Broadway along with 79th and 95th, we've been doing a lot of things with corridors in the city over the past 2 years, and thank you so very much, Commissioner, for like really enforcing that and like bringing it into the city. I do hope to see more on the south side as well, but I do hope that this study is as aggressive as those other ones, and especially near the Metro and Blue Line stops along Irving Park Road to really build that area up. There's a long way to go, and that's it right now.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Let the record reflect too that Commissioner Turner and Commissioner Castañeda are now in attendance. Again, open it up to the commissioners if you have any questions with Carmen. Anyone? No? Great. Thank you. And as this was an informational presentation, no vote is necessary, so we'll move on to the last item on the agenda, which is also another informational presentation. So the next item is listed as D6, an informational presentation by the Department of Planning and Development about City Civics Day. Gabriela Jurasik will provide an overview and present the plan. Did I say that right?
Yes. Good afternoon, commissioners. We are officially in the post-noon hour, so thank you so much for having us today. For the record, my name is Gabriela Jurasik, and I am an Assistant Commissioner of Community and Digital Engagement with the Department of Planning and Development. This is my colleague.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Carlson. I'm a Senior Strategist with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events.
And we are here today to present a really exciting event called City Civics Day, which is a joint presentation of DPD and DCAS. So we are very excited to share information about the 3rd annual City Civics Day, which will be Saturday, November 15th at the David Rubenstein Forum, which is on the University of Chicago campus. As our 3rd iteration, this is actually going to be our first time bringing this event to the South Side, which is very exciting. And it's really a celebration of civic engagement. And the point of it is, how do we help people understand how government works, how they can participate in government and things like planning initiatives or volunteering with the animal shelter, anything like that. And it's an outgrowth of the citywide plan, which was adopted in 2023. So as we went through that process, what we really learned is that the city has to do a much better job of teaching people about how government works and promoting their engagement in important city processes. So this is a really super fun day, and my colleague Amanda will get into the programming a little bit further on, but I'm gonna just provide an overview of the events right now. So as I mentioned, this is our third event. Last year, we had over 500 people attend, and it was at Malcolm X College on the near west side. As you can see from this map, we really do get participation from all over the city. So the red dots are registrations from 2024. We had over 2,000 tickets. We do see a rather large no-show rate because it's a free event. That's very common in any free programming that you provide, as DJs can attest to as well. This year's registrants that we have addresses for are represented by the blue dots. And what's really exciting to see from this map right now is that we are getting a great cluster of people around the Woodlawn, South Shore, Hyde Park area, which is part of our intention of bringing this event to the South Side. So we also have last year over 60 presenters and artists, and we send out a survey after the event, and we had, can't really see right here, but 88% of people were exceptionally or very inspired to get involved in city government and civic engagement after attending the event. And then we have very high ratings on all of our presentations and overall satisfaction with the day. So the event elements are, we actually put this together with other city departments and sister agencies. Our programming, we have an advisory group that has been helping us put together our sessions and workshops. And this year we're trying to focus on youth participation and leadership in government. So we have partnered with Chicago Public Schools and other programs that are highlighting youth participation. We will be serving lunch at this event. We really think it's important to have, if you're asking people to come out for a day of engagement, that we provide hospitality as well. So that's really exciting. We will have Spanish interpretation at our panel discussions, as well as ASL interpretation and open captioning. And we are happy to provide other accessibility needs as requested. And this year we added more time for people between the sessions that are happening to have networking, to like really make those connections and talk to their neighbors. We'll also be having tabling with a resource fair so that people can come and talk to organizations that will be presenting and get to know them and maybe sign up to be a volunteer or participate in one of their programs as well. We also will be having a lot of really fun arts programming as well, because we think it's very important that the arts are central to civic engagements. Amanda, again, will be going more into that in a little bit. So for our promotion for this event, we're trying to be very intentional in inviting the audiences who are closest to the venue to participate. We have partnered with the 20th Ward, Alderwoman Taylor, and Alderman Yancey is in the 5th Ward. This venue is exactly on the boundary between those two wards, so they will be present at the event and participating. And they're also helping us distribute information to their ward offices and constituents. We're doing flyers. We're going to be doing a small mailing to people nearby as well in the Woodlawn area, because last year we did the same thing for Malcolm X, and we really did see that increase in registrations from residents of the near west side in attending. And we'll be handing out posters for local businesses as well. We have a very small social media promotion budget, so we do have a social media toolkit on our website to help people learn about the event. Hopefully you will be seeing soon City Civics Day on the large digital displays over the highway and throughout the city. So if you do, please take a picture and send it to us. That's always fun to see. And as I mentioned earlier, we have partnerships with Chicago Public Schools, as well as the University of Chicago's Office of Civic Engagement. So we're really hoping to bring students from both nearby public schools, as well as college students who are on campus. And there's also a few other private schools nearby that area as well. And we'll be doing a larger press outreach as we get closer to the event. And we also already attended one event in the 20th ward that was, focused on development, and we distributed materials there. And Alderman Yancey has invited us to an event in early November in his ward as well to help get the word out. And so I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Amanda.
So as Gabriella mentioned, this is the third annual City Civics Day, and we're really excited about the range of topics that we're going to be able to build on, bring to the public in November. Our programming has been designed by the advisory committee that we formed of city staff who are engaged in civic engagement generally in their workplaces on a daily basis, and they helped us define the topics that we should dive into and to help us formalize the speaker list. This year, similar to other, City Civics Days, we're running concurrent programming, so there'll be 2 panels at any given time and a workshop happening. And so this year, we're really excited to partner with the Department of Transportation to convene a panel of young leaders to discuss how youth voices can shape Chicago spaces and transit networks. We're going to have panelists from Equiticity, Streets Are for Everybody, Territory, and Green Core Chicago, really centering the voice at the very start of the day. And you can hear from your peers about how to get involved in these really important topics around how do we envision our city, how do we build that, and how do we do that across the entire lifetime participation. We heard from our advisory committee that this is an exciting time to talk about the built environment and how we share stories of Chicagoans and who gets to be recognized in our built environment. And so there'll be 2 programs that kind of speak to that specifically. There'll be a panel on civic memory through public art, talking about the Chicago Monuments Project, and featuring panelists from the Chicago Race Riot of 1919 Commemoration Project, the Pilsen Latino Legacies Project, and the Monument to Rekia Boyd and the Black Girlhood Altar from A Long Walk Home. Also, as part of the day, we're going to have a conversation with led by our Department of Environment, spotlighting the collaborations that have been essential to the success of Our Roots Chicago program, which is equitably expanding Chicago's tree canopy. And so we'll be hearing from partners at the Chicago Muslims Green Team, the Morton Arboretum, and Blacks in Green to talk about that. Later in the day, we're going to continue talking about whose stories get told through the Preserving History Through Chicago House Museums panel. And that'll include panelists from the Muddy Waters Mojo Museum, the Elijah Muhammad House Museum, and the Southside Community Arts Center, really focusing on how do we talk about the preservation of Black history and cultural spaces and also foster those within our built environment today. That panel is a really beautiful collaboration of DPD and DCASE's funding strategies because grantees of our programs will be featured on that panel. Building on the success of a panel that was that took place in the first City Civics Day, there'll be a Who Are the Planners in Your Neighborhood session, where people can connect with all of the different ways that planning takes place across our communities. There'll be city officials and community leaders talking about neighborhood planning strategies around healthy neighborhoods and how to build vibrant commercial corridors and how people can participate, whether that's in the form of participating in a program like the Chicago Architecture Center's Planning Academy, or connecting through individual entrepreneurship like Project 34, with nonprofits like Latinos Progresando, and the Greater Northwest Development Corporation. So all of these different ways that people can engage in planning within their communities, and it doesn't have to take one specific or traditional form. And we're also really excited this year to partner with the Chicago Animal Care and Control Department to discuss how it's partnering with other organizations like Paws Chicago and volunteers to ensure the humane care of animals through sheltering, pet placement, mutual aid, and public education. We thought this was an area where, Chicagoans may not, Chicagoans who are connected to the issue may have some knowledge of how our shelter system works, but not necessarily what Chicago Animal Care and Control is mandated to do by ordinance, the ways that they're supporting the mutual aid network, the way that they're really trying to care for people and ensure that pets get to stay with their owners. So excited to have them in Paws Chicago. And then each year we try to do something new when it comes to hands-on and interactive activities for attendees. And so we'll be having interactive workshops in art making from artists, Regin Igloria, who will lead a what he calls a community bookbinding workshop, where people learn the book arts and how to make their own notebooks, zines, take that with them. Natalia Cuevas, who is one of the CDPH and DK's Healing Arts Chicago artists, who's at the North Park Mental Health Clinic, will be leading a miniature and sculpture building, co-creating sculptures with folks in attendance that people will be able to walk away with. Eugene Medix will be leading a session on how to improvise tools for emergency situations, how to call 911 and handle the emotional aspects of community care. And that's a session and workshop that's in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Community Safety. We had a really successful partnership with last year as well. And then throughout the day, Somos Arte, which is an amazing arts organization, will be leading art making activities for families of all ages. Everything from coloring books and participatory diorama making to getting your own custom Chicago temporary tattoo, which was a huge success last year. Oh my gosh, Chicagoans love temporary tattoos. So we'll be bringing that back for another year. But it'll make for a really substantive and beautiful day, and we hope to join us.
Yeah, thank you. Tickets are available. This was our unveiling of all of our programming, so the full schedule is also now available online. We would love to have your assistance in helping promote this event. It is free, and we can provide you flyers and there's a social media toolkit online, but we're really excited and hope to see you there. It's free, engaging, it's fun.
Remind us, when is the date?
It is Saturday, November 15th.
Okay, so we have a month.
You have almost exactly a month.
Yes, thank you. Answer questions from commissioners?
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to say thank you for the presentation, for bringing awareness to this amazing program this year.
Very cool idea.
Yes. Anything else? And again, we don't need a vote on this, because this was just an informational presentation. So that was our last item. So this concludes this month's meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Boatright. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. Roll call vote. Commissioner Boatright?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Castañeda?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores? Yes. Commissioner Galakia?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Pinheiro stepped out. Commissioner Ramirez Rosa?
Yes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. This month's meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is now adjourned at 12:17. Not bad. Yeah, I was worried. This will be by then.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
I gotta,
That's very specific.
yeah.
Yeah.